I'm Maureen Langan in for Pat Thurston on this Sunday afternoon. How are you? Joining me in studio is Maureen Simon. Her book is Awakening the Essential Feminine, and we are talking about the power of women that think the tide is turning. Her company is also called The Essential Feminine. She's headquartered in Maureen, and she does courses, retreats, workshops. She does it all, but we're here to talk about there's a power shift going on globally. You help women with their lives and their businesses bring the two together to have a real impact, a real passion about what they're doing and bringing that forth. But you're talking about, Maureen, that there is this real shift from 5 years ago. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
You know, there's so many different levels to this. I mean, years ago we were looking at women and the suffragettes, like it's like ancient, right? And yet they were the founders of a lot of our thinking.
Yes.
And then we moved into being in companies, and then all these different kind of antiquated levels that are really important. But in the last 5 years...
You mean the corporate ladder stuff?
Well, yeah, getting
getting
a credit card, getting a bank account, getting into the corporations, whatever level you want to go. We could talk about that all day. There's a lot of levels. But the last 5 years have been really interesting because the research for the book started about 6 years ago, and the book's out. And now it's kind of interesting to see that these 28 attributes have informed thousands of lives all over the world.
The attributes of the feminine,
Yeah.
Relationship,
these are really
thought,
powerful,
language.
Yeah, and how we relate, all these differences. But there's something really unique happening right now, and that is that women are at a very powerful crossroads to decide. And you have to decide how much of your energy you're going to put into the drain, like we just talked about Ariana hitting her head on her desk.
Ariana Huffington.
And how much of the energy of your life force that you want to put into creating life. And it's like we get so busy, we think we can't make choices, but we can make choices. And unless we make choices, we basically are going to end up like Ariana. And she doesn't want that. She's written a book about that. So
I want her to pay people who write for her website.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like for her to do.
Yeah.
That's what I want for you, Ariana. And then maybe you won't bang your head, and
There's
maybe
a
good
lot.
karma. No, God forgive me. I hope she's well.
Yeah, she seems to be doing well.
So give me some examples. I want specifics of the women you help and how you do that.
The life force activation is the next phase we're in.
Life force activation. Sounds a little earthy, crunchy. Sounds a little Mill Valley. What's happening?
A little bit crunchy. But when you actually put together a life where you're making a difference, where you're using your natural gifts, and when you are putting yourself in the world and creating great success, and the paychecks are great, it's not that crunchy anymore.
Yeah, how do we do that? That's right.
Yeah, if women can take time to figure out what they need, not just what the wind takes them to.
That's right.
What the meaning of their lives is. And I mean, we can get crunchier, and I can talk about destiny, but I'll spare you that, Maureen. But what we're here for...
over a glass of wine, we'll do that.
Someday we'll have a conversation. But what we're here for, so that we can actually put the good stuff out and not just blow in the wind.
And I want people to know you have a very vast international business background. So you know business. You've designed businesses. You don't get up, smoke a joint, go, wow, man, life force energy. This is a woman who's on top of it and knows what she's doing. And her book, Awakening the Essential Feminine, is getting your life, a woman's life, and her business goals in line together.
Yeah.
Okay. So
the point here, at the very, very place we are, is that we need to make choices about how we spend our life energy. And that is a time that's different than other times. I think in the other days, we were in the 5 years back in the learning phase. We were learning about what women hold that's unique and natural. We were starting to look at the numbers in corporations where CEOs were at the top of the corporations rise on their ROI, their rate of the money that comes back to the company on the ROI. And we're putting together all these new things, but now it's time to say, wait a minute, hold it. This is the difference, Maureen. And this is where we claim our life. And this is some of the new sessions I'm doing with women are to really get them clear on what they want specifically so that they can activate that in their lives. And I kind of go in as a chameleon and really start listening to women, and some of the stories are really interesting. And I use my own intuition. I get them.
You're very intuitive.
I am pretty.
You really are intuitive. I've had conversations with her off the radio, and I had goosebumps. She's just right there. It's very quick. Yeah. It's like an energy. Boom,
These
bubbles.
are the sessions. We're activating that energy in women because I think what they really need and we need is to be able to be more reflective, to be more of ourselves, and then have powerful outcomes. So we work from the inside out. It's an inside
job. That's what I do. It's an inside job. All right. So who would come to you? Because Maureen Simon is in the Bay Area. She helps women make their businesses and their lives more fulfilling. So if somebody's listening now, who would come to you?
Well, on a life force activation session, they're like an hour and a quarter, and they actually would be anybody that's ready to move into the next level of their life. In the business consulting, and this is all woven, but the main business consulting that I do with women, say a woman from London that I just worked with called me back after 10 years of not speaking. We Skyped last week. And she said, when we started the work, my whole life was falling apart. I had a great background in finance and starting tech companies. This is in London. And at that point, my marriage fell apart. I had 3 kids at home. And what we did together, and she reminded me, is we restructured every phase of her life and got her to claim who she is, what she's here for, same theme again, and what the greatest potential of that would look like in the world, and how can she make great money. And I was touched by the call because it's been a long time, but she came back and said, this has now been a long time. Can we do another phase of work? I want to teach this to women.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So she's making some bucks now, and she's feeling fulfilled. She wants to
give back, and that's what
women
do.
Give back.
That's what women do.
This is what we want. Well, I have to get more to give back. I'm willing to give back once I get.
Well, we'll talk about that offline.
But it's hard because it is a drain, particularly like if you're creative. I do the comedy, I do the radio, I write. I'm in New York, I'm in California. It gets exhausting being scattered like that. And you say there comes a point where you have to bring that energy really in alignment.
Yeah, that's what I would do with you. Is I would look at what the high priorities are and have you focus on that. We're all here to make a difference in some way, but if we don't even know what that is, and most people run around not knowing, and we're like leaves in the wind again, I say that we don't accomplish much. We need to know it, claim it, own it, and really stand by it.
So tell me about I know you have some retreats or some courses coming up. I want people to know a bit more about that. Maureen Simon, her book Awakening the Essential Feminine, on Amazon.com.
Yeah, and this is very new. I'm going to be working with groups of 5 to 7 women. The group women can pick their 5 to 7 people, pick a gorgeous location, and we're going to go in and do a day and a half and really work through all the principles I just said with colleagues or friends and actually start doing retreats around this work. This is very, very new. I'm also going to be doing some, as I mentioned earlier, some work with individual businesses, women in business, to get them to rock. I mean, the success rates we've seen over the last 2 years are off the charts. So I really look for women that are really ready to make a difference and really bring success in. And of course, there's the book, and then there's the little mini sessions. That's kind of what I'm up to these days. You got the whole picture.
What I like about you, honestly, and you have a really great personality. You have this strong business background, and then you have this really open, creative, intuitive side. And I think that's essentially what you're bringing together in the women that you meet with your work.
You are spot on. It's to me important that we all show up as who we are and start really giving the gifts we have, and then this is where I'm seeing massive success. The numbers I said they're off the chart, but that's because I'm getting the women to really look at who they are.
All right. If you want to know more about Maureen's work, check out her book Awakening the Essential Feminine. Her name is Maureen Simon, Simon. You can go to Amazon.com or go to her company, theessentialfeminine.com. It's been my pleasure to be chatting and to know you now.
Thank you.
Stay with me in the next hour. We're going to talk about an Indian, a Native American slur, perhaps? We'll talk about that just ahead. I'm Maureen Langan. This is KGO, San Francisco, San Jose, and Oakland.